Thank you, Bartek, for introduction. Today with me, we have Karol Krawiec, who is head of Agile at PKO Bank Polski, but also a product owner of Agile transformation in PKO Bank Polski. So privately, I know Karol for almost 2 years, and Karol is an amazing person, a wonderful guy, and a real person to meet actually in Polish banking.
Hi, Andrii. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you and to take part in this conference. Yes, we work closely with Andrii, who is professional Scrum trainer at Scrum.org for almost 2 years. Andrii was Scrum Master of our Agile Practice and brought to us excellent experience and know-how to support our transformation. So let's start with some context and facts about PKO Bank Polski. PKO Bank Polski is the oldest bank in Central and Eastern Europe. It is also the largest universal bank in Poland. It has nearly 11 million of individual, business and corporate customers. We entered new century as the banking platform, a tech company with the banking license, and we started in 2018 our digital transformation, which covered all aspects of functioning the bank. And we know that this kind of change is inevitable. We also say that we are changing the bank's DNA, so you can imagine the level of challenges we are facing every single day. And goals about digital transformation we define as faster and more frequent delivery of business value, increased productivity of realized initiatives, and increase employee satisfaction and new skills development during the battle of the best talent nowadays we have. We are organized as multidisciplinary teams consisting of business, IT, and operations units, working on defined products and services. We have quarterly planning cycle and 2-week length sprints with all rules and principles based on Scrum framework in place. And our journey to business agility began on April 2018 with 3 tribes and 100 people totally in some kind of trial mode. We wanted to verify whether new way of working model is valuable and suitable for our purposes. Today we have 16 tribes and more than 700 specialists working on, being supported with more than 20 Scrum Master and Agile experts. And after 2 years of our Agile journey, we need some fresh air. It was getting harder and harder to introduce changes, and we felt some kind of skepticism. And that's the turning point where COVID-19 came the stage and created new sense of urgency. If you look on COVID-19 landscape, we can say that paradoxically, crisis mode we need to switch into was a big chance for Agile transformation to succeed. Due to challenges for business continuity, higher efficiency, operational excellence, and fast reactions to rapid and dynamic changes are the skills that company needs the most. So doing right thing right is the key, and that's the reason Agile transformation comes from. COVID-19 also forced on us to be ready for remote work from day to day. I remember 16th of March when 11,000 banks employees started working from home. And thanks to huge IT effort and support, we were ready for efficient work from the day one. And Andrii will show us in more detailed way what solutions we provided to treat COVID-19 as a game changer for Agile transformation.
So, as Karol mentioned before, by the time COVID kicked in, PKO was almost 2 years in Agile transformation, and it's obviously had its ups and downs. And at some point, the change approaches the moment of stagnation, where it is actually very hard to introduce new changes, where it's very hard to start moving and changing the status quo from point A to point B. And we were very close to that point. And actually, by the beginning of the year 2020, we were discussing that we need a new push, we need a new change, we need a fresh start, kind of reboot for Agile transformation, because we are the organization is losing sense of urgency. And one of the few things that were good about COVID for us, it was that it actually gave this sense of urgency. And because, as Karol mentioned, PKO came into a crisis mode, and it was a complex, unpredictable situation for organization, not only from the point of view that you as a manager or you as a team have to work differently right now in a remote way, but also from the point of view of customers and the market, where demand is changing and where the expectation of customers are changing. So we took this COVID pandemic as an opportunity for us. And first thing we did, we actually we looked pretty differently at the transformation. So we defined that transformation, or our internal way of working, how organization works internally, functions internally, is kind of our product as the department who is responsible for Agile. So the first thing we did, we actually wanted to align each and every Scrum Master in the organization to show them that, guys, you are the one who are supposed to push organization for further change, and it's not going to happen without you. So from the perspective of product owner and Scrum Master, it was pretty crucial for us to come up with our mission as a department, or as a mission of every Scrum Master or Agile consultant that is currently in this organization. And our mission was to create an environment for frequent and early delivery in order to maximize value for our customer, while we constantly inspect and adapt how we work, how we function as the organization. And this was our mission. And first thing we did, we actually communicated broadly to the Scrum Masters to say, guys, we want to start working differently. We want to be the engine that is actually pushing for change. And to do this, it was pretty cool. It aligned all of the Scrum Masters, but let's not forget that PKO is a very large organization, where we have more than 26,000 employees. Karol, correct me if I'm wrong. And in such a big organization, the only will of a Scrum Masters to change the organization, it's not enough. You have to have the involvement of key people, of key stakeholders. That's why for us, a fresh start, a reboot for transformation also meant that we have to approach our stakeholders differently. So we did once again our stakeholder mapping. We came up with a pretty classic one, where on one axis you have influence, on second one you have interest, and you can imagine the scale and the amount of stakeholders that were in those maps. That's why we focused only on the square, on top right square, where you have people with high influence and high interest in Agile transformation. But that wasn't enough for us. We wanted to dig a bit deeper to personalize our interaction with those stakeholders. That's why we answered 4 key questions for ourselves. And first one was, what matters to me? So what matters specifically for this stakeholder? So for example, if we are talking to the CFO, who is a stakeholder with high interest and high influence in transformation, most probably he would want to hear about financial impacts and the return on investment of the product. So that's actually what matters to him. Second question is that what I'm struggling with as a stakeholder, what are my current problems? So if we know those problems, most probably we would know how to address them with this change, with the transformation. So third question was, how Agile transformation can help me with that? And of course, last question was for us is, how should you approach me? So some people like more formal communication, some people like more informal communication. I just want to show you that we wanted to actually communicate on a very personalized level with those stakeholders. So when we have our stakeholders, we actually need a structure to deliver this change, right? And the Agile Practice pattern from Scrum at Scale actually inspired us. So before the change, Karol's department was perceived in the organization as a department who delivers Scrum Masters to the teams. And Scrum Master was perceived as a guy or a girl who is actually working just on a team level, with the product owner and the team, nothing else. All of the bigger stuff, I mean, the transformation and service to organization was omitted. We wanted to change that. That's why, for us, the primary responsibility of Agile Practice is actually that Agile Practice is responsible for executing transformation backlog. So we wanted to create an engine that would push for change, that would actually bring the change to the organization and implement it in the organization. So Agile Practice is responsible for increasing the agility of the organization, and by so, for us, it means that we constantly need to inspect and adapt how we function as an organization. So we created this structure, and if we started looking at the way how organization functions, we needed a product owner, who was Karol. And the product owner is actually a key here at Scale. So you can imagine how much internal dependencies are in the organization that impacts the way the organization functions. And we need to decide on which changes we should focus on. But most importantly, we have to decide on what not to focus. And this is, I believe, the most important decisions that were made by Karol. And we had a product owner. We created a backlog which actually represented the plan and the vision, how we want to proceed in Agile transformation. We worked in a monthly sprints where we had to deliver an increment of a change to the organization that was followed up by a real data, how the change impacted the organization. And we focused on 3 areas. We split backlog in 3 areas, and there were 3 development teams that were working in those areas, and each and every Scrum Masters had to work in at least one team to deliver his service to the organization. And for us, those key areas of transformation were, first one is do the right thing at scale. So when COVID kicked in, it actually had a major impact on the financial sector. So PKO couldn't anymore invest in every idea or in every initiative that was over there. So we had to create a structure where organization could actually decide and choose in which initiatives to invest, in which not to. When we know already in what we should invest, we need to be fast and efficient in order to deliver them. So we need to do those initiatives, to do those products in the right way. So we had to do the thing right. And of course, to do that, you have to have people trained and people with knowledge to do so. So, Karol, tell us more about doing the right thing at scale.
Yes, do the right thing at scale is quite obvious, especially when crisis is facing our plans. But how to do that when you have hundreds of initiatives up and running? Like in that picture, we need to unload, let's say, these topics and direct them to the special teams and to be delivered. So first, you should manage these like you manage your product backlog all together. You need kind of alignment with the vision and strategy with your organization. So you will be able to put the most important topics at the top. Of course, this is not so easy as it sounds. For example, you should have some kind of tools to compare these topics each other from the perspective which is valid for you. For example, revenues, market share, new areas for development, and so on. Treating this whole backlog as a one organizational backlog has additional advantage. It's excellent structure for inspection and adaptation as time goes and situation changes. It should also be transparent and understandable, so everyone knows what are the priorities for the company at any given time. And in order to do so, you must provide continuous refinement process with your stakeholders and delivery teams. And in our case, that is joint vision from strategy and IT development departments connected with Tribe's chief product owners. And if we know how to do the right thing, as Andrii mentioned, we need to also have the ability to do things right in a right way. So, Andrii.
So, for those who are not familiar with this sport that is actually in the image, its name is curling, and it's about to placing the stone into right place on the field. There is one player who is pushing the stone, but there are two more players who are navigating the stone with the brushes. So that's how we felt in Agile Practice, that we are the ones who are responsible to enable the teams to deliver early and frequently the value to the customers. So to have the right process in place, we needed to know what is our current picture. So after we actually had prioritized the initiatives on the organizational level, we knew which initiatives were really the most important to the organization. So we started with value stream mapping for those initiatives to find out where are the actual bottlenecks at this moment. And when we were done with value stream mapping, we started experiment to shorten our time to market and our lead time in order to deliver value more frequently and rapidly to the market. When we had those experiments, we actually could already rely on the data. And why we call it experiment? Because we were transparent from the beginning that, guys, if we introduce any kind of a change, it may have as a positive impact, but also a negative impact, and we should be ready for that. The key here is to find out as quickly as possible which impact kind of the change has it. That's why we were also relying on the data and trying to find out rapidly whether we're going in the right direction with the change or not. And of course, the key here is to remove impediments as fast as possible. So here in this area, we were very much focused on letting the team be effective and efficient. And removing impediments is one of the key points over here. So, Karol, tell us more then about developing key people and developing people to do
yes.
those.
In order to develop people the right way, we provide as Agile Practice separate track of our efforts to for bank's employees, and Scrum teams' response to unprecedented situation proved that appropriate level, conditions and boundaries for self-organization leads to outstanding outcomes. If you let people solve the problems instead of telling them what to do, you have a win-win solution and you are able to create solid foundations for self-motivation and self-organized and well-performed teams. So we also use the remote work for solid knowledge sharing online. We kept the pace of weekly delivering in our internal product, responsible for spreading agile mindset within our organization. We call it Agile Wednesday. And today, during this AgileByExample conference, there's a unique chance to participate in that event. So feel free to visit PKO BP Scrum Master stand at 3 p.m. and you will see how does Agile Wednesday look like. And so we also pivoted our internal Scrum Masters Guild from developing themselves to solving major impediments for Scrum teams to move to remote work smoothly. So we were able, to teach the teams, to teach Scrum teams how to use that situation in a positive way. In addition, we introduced Coach Corner. It was an initiative for managers and Scrum and team members from the rest of the company, helping them, supporting them in switching to remote work, because that situation was the new one in that moment. So we helped them to manage with that turbulent times. And of course, we provided some kind of inspection and adaptation. We introduced regular pulse check for remote work with employees. And currently, we are changing this pulse check itself for better alignment and more accurate results. Okay, so what we've learned, we can see 3 different perspectives from Agile Practice, Scrum teams, and company. And Andrii, please give us a short brief about Agile Practice and Scrum teams.
So, as for Agile Practice, the first insight that we have is that if you have Scrum Masters in the organization, you have to create a structure where Scrum Masters can serve the organization. And it also requires to change how the organization should look at a Scrum Master. So you really have to empower the Scrum Masters. And for us, Agile Practice was actually the structure where Scrum Masters felt safe and were able to actually contribute in the all organization's change and transformation. Second one is that, especially in large-scale organizations, you have to know your stakeholders and you have to involve them. And if you collaborate in a right way with the key stakeholders of a change, the most probably, like the key decisions and game-changer decisions about the change will go rather more smoothly, because without them you cannot actually take those big decisions for a change. From the perspective of Scrum teams, so before the COVID kicked in, there were quite a lot of skeptics in the organization about self-organization and that it doesn't work. So actually, COVID showed that self-organization actually works. And this is one of the few ways how you can actually go through a crisis and complex mode as your organization. So it actually is pretty important also to show and educate your organization that, look, in crisis situations and unpredictable situations, people respond to the challenges if you give them the challenge and give them space actually to achieve this goal. And what about the company perspective, Karol?
Yeah, we can observe several items from the company perspective. First of all, we are able to agree on common goals thanks to this one product backlog and central prioritization. We see also increasing level of trust for Scrum teams because they proved that they are able to deliver faster and more valuable topics for the customer. We also observed shortened time to market. We were able to short our time to market from months to weeks in a specific areas. And company is also more open to experiments and fast gaining the feedback information from the customers. So what are the outcomes from change we are let's say inside, because this change is still up and running? First of all, we shortened time to market, and we were able to close the loop with customers faster in a faster and more efficient way. We have also one product backlog for entire company. It is living artifact, and we can prioritize it according to changing conditions. And thanks to this, that this is the transparent backlog of all topics we need to do. Everyone knows what are the priorities. And last but not least, we were able to create solid foundations for self-organized Scrum teams, which is crucial for delivering the business agility, let's say. So that's all for us for today. If you have any questions, we invite you to ask these questions now. And if you want to, we also invite you at PKO Bank Polski live chat at 1 p.m. So please visit us, and we will be happy to answer your questions. So we are here for you.
Okay, thanks guys a lot. Thank you that you highlighted that self-organized teams can deal, in fact, in that hard situation, in that complex and some uncertainty. That's the one of the biggest solutions to deal with this problem. Still 4 minutes left, so we have some time for Q&A session. There was a question how to choose the right improvement out of 1,000 ones?
So, Karol, you want to take that, or I can do?
Oh, please do. Please do.
How to choose? It's actually a pretty hard one thing to do, especially at the scale. That's why we have to have a product owner. And look, if we look at Agile Practice, so this is a team, a structure, which is actually responsible for Agile transformation. And we try to look at it in order to help the organization achieve its strategic goals. So this was the one thing that actually was pretty valuable for us. Does this change or improvement actually impacts on the achieving the strategic goals of the organization? Second one is, does it align with our mission and vision? So what do we want to do? And third one is, if we know which thing to do, if we choose the right thing to do, I mean, from the business perspective, it also gives a great impact for us from the process perspective, which improvement we should take. Because for us, the key was to deliver as fast, as rapidly as possible of those key initiatives that were prioritized in the backlog. So it actually, if you take a look at all these factors, it becomes less complex to choose the right improvement.
Okay. Thanks. I think we've got some time for another question. I think the last one. Could you give us any piece of advice based on your experience right now, because second wave of COVID is coming? What we should focus on?
I think we should still focus on doing the right thing, yeah, because I probably assume that we have some financing limitations, so we need to choose wisely. We need to invest wisely, and we also need to try to deliver as fast as we are able. So maybe you need to look through, for example, value stream mapping, what kind of impediments do you have, and try to solve them first in order to be ready to deliver faster. Because I assume that this new normal or this new reality will bring us still changing conditions, still changing customer needs, and also the risk from banking sector perspective. So for sure, invest wisely, and try to monitor what are the outcomes from the changes you provide. That's my perspective.
I would actually add on to this one that you also have to do it the right way, or to do the thing right. So do not exclude, let's say, value. So you cannot deliver the value without also the right process. So you should combine those two things, and they should go in pair as always. So you have to inspect from the value perspective what you're delivering, but from the process perspective also how you're delivering it. So that's why the cooperation of a product owner, development team, as Scrum Master is key here.